Unit 17, respond immediately. Young female on the line, begging for help. Caller cut off mid-sentence. Location, Carter Estate. The dispatcher's voice cracked through the radio, sharp as a knife in the silence of my patrol car. I didn't even blink. My hands locked tighter on the wheel and instinct made my foot slam the accelerator. The siren screamed to life, red and blue flashing across the storm-beaten streets of Chicago. Calls like these weren't new. In 15 years on the force, I'd heard every kind of distress, from panicked whispers to blood-curdling screams. But something about this one clawed at me. Maybe it was the way her voice trembled before the line went dead, as though she'd been silenced mid-sentence. Maybe it was the location, the Carter Estate. I knew the name before I even saw it on the dispatch screen. Everyone in Chicago did. The Carters weren't just wealthy, they were powerful. They funded campaigns, owned half the city's real estate, had dinner with governors. The kind of family that could buy silence with a phone call. But tonight their daughter's silence had cracked. Her last words still echoed in my skull, jagged and desperate. Please, they're going to kill me. Just because I love him. Then static, then nothing. I gritted my teeth, rain hammering against the windshield as I tore through intersections. The city blurred past, neon signs, wet asphalt, pedestrians darting out of the way. My partner's voice buzzed through the radio, offering backup. I shut it down. No, this one's mine. The driveway appeared like a scar through the night, long, winding, lined with oaks bending under the storm. The mansion rose at the end like something out of a Gothic nightmare. 3 stories of stone and glass, lit up warm and golden against the rain. But warmth can be a mask. I'd seen it before. Behind the glow of wealth, the darkest things often hid. Before I'd even stepped out of the cruiser, I heard it. Raised voices, muffled through the thick walls, shouting, a man's bark, deep and commanding, a girl's choked sobs, then a woman's voice sharp and venomous. If she doesn't obey, she won't live to regret it. The words froze me in place. I pressed myself against the cold wall near the massive front doors, my hand brushing the holster at my side. I'd been trained to assess, to wait, to follow procedure, but procedure never saved lives when seconds mattered. I raised my fist and pounded the door. "Chicago PD, open up!" The voices inside cut off. Silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. My heartbeat pounded in my ears louder than the rain. The door opened. Mr. Carter stood framed in the golden glow of the foyer. Tall and broad, silver hair combed back with precision. His smile was polite, too polite. Cold, carved into his face like marble. "Officer," he said smoothly, as though greeting me at a gala instead of answering a police knock. "Is there a problem?" I scanned behind him. For a heartbeat I saw her, Emily Carter. 19 years old, tear-streaked face pale under the chandelier light. Her hands trembled as she gripped the banister on the grand staircase. Our eyes locked, just for a second, wide, terrified, pleading. It told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't a disturbance. This was a prison. Mr. Carter shifted slightly, blocking the view, his smile never slipping. We had a small family disagreement. Nothing that requires police involvement, but I'd already seen enough. I stepped inside, boots heavy against marble floors polished like mirrors. The air smelled of wealth, expensive perfume, old books, leather furniture. But beneath it all, I could taste fear. "Where's your daughter?" I asked flatly. His jaw ticked. "Resting. She's prone to dramatics." From the corner of my eye, I saw Mrs. Carter descend the staircase, elegant in a silk dress, diamonds glittering even in the stormlight. Her voice was sugar-coated venom. "Officer, I assure you Emily is fine. She just struggles with boundaries." I wanted to believe them. It would have been easier. but my gut twisted, screaming otherwise. I shifted slightly, enough to glance up the stairs again. Emily was gone. "Then you won't mind if I check," I said, forcing calm into my voice. Their smiles cracked just for a second, enough to confirm everything. The storm outside raged harder, wind rattling the windows. Inside, tension coiled like a snake ready to strike. And in that moment, standing in the Carter mansion, I realized this wasn't just another call. It was a battle. Love against control. A girl's life against her parents' pride. And if I didn't play this right, Emily Carter wouldn't survive the night. Stephen has just stepped into the lion's den, face to face, with parents powerful enough to erase him, and a girl hidden somewhere inside the mansion who's depending on him to live. The storm outside had nothing on the storm inside the Carter mansion. My boots clicked against polished marble as I moved deeper into the foyer. Every instinct screamed that I was standing in hostile territory. These weren't worried parents, they were predators dressed in silken suits. "Officer," Mr. Carter said, his voice smooth but clipped, "we appreciate your concern, but you're intruding on a private family matter." I kept my eyes scanning the room. No sign of Emily. I'd seen her, trembling on the staircase, but in seconds she'd vanished, pulled away, hidden, or worse. My gut churned. "Where's your daughter?" I repeated, sharper this time. Mrs. Carter tilted her head, offering a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Upstairs, of course. Likely sulking. You know how young girls are." I ignored her. My gaze shifted to the stairs. That house was a maze, 3 stories, endless rooms. If Emily was somewhere inside, I'd have to be smart. A wrong move and her parents would bury the truth before I even filed a report. I stepped toward the staircase. Mr. Carter moved smoothly into my path, blocking me. His politeness cracked, the mask slipping. I said, "This is a family matter. You'll leave now." I squared my shoulders, staring him down. "A girl called 911 from this address. Begged for help. Said someone was trying to kill her. Now, unless you want me to call in half the precinct, you're going to step aside." For the first time, his eyes hardened. Dangerous, calculating. He didn't like being challenged. But I didn't blink. 15 years on the job taught me one thing. Bullies back down when you don't flinch. Finally, he stepped aside, lips pressed thin. "Fine, if it'll satisfy your duty." I took the stairs slowly, every sense on high alert. Behind me, I felt their eyes burning holes in my back. Upstairs, the hall stretched long, lined with doors. I opened the first, empty guest room. The second, study, shelves of books. The third, locked. I tried the handle again. Solid. My pulse kicked. "Emily?" I called softly. Silence. I pressed my ear to the wood. Nothing. Then the faintest rustle. I lowered my voice. "Emily, it's Officer Stephen. I'm here to help." For a long moment, silence. Then, barely audible, a whisper, "Please." "They'll kill me if I leave." My throat tightened. She was in there, trapped, terrified. I glanced over my shoulder, listening for footsteps on the stairs. None yet. I leaned close to the lock, weighing options. Kick it down? Risky. Would blow my cover of restraint. But leaving her behind wasn't an option. Just as I shifted my stance, I heard it, the creak of the floorboard behind me. I spun. Mr. Carter stood at the end of the hall, arms folded, watching me. That cold smile was back. "Officer," he said softly, "I think you've overstepped." Before I could answer, Mrs. Carter's voice floated up from downstairs. Sickly sweet. "Dinner's ready, Emily. Or shall we say, your last supper?" Emily whimpered behind the door. My blood turned to fire. I raised my voice. "Emily Carter is in danger. I'm calling for backup." Mr. Carter's smile widened into something colder, deadlier. "By the time they arrive, officer, She'll be gone. Stephen has confirmed Emily is locked inside a room, but her parents now know he's onto them. Time is running out, and backup won't arrive fast enough. If he doesn't act now, Emily won't live to see daylight. The hallway stretched long and narrow, shadows cast by chandeliers swaying with the storm outside. I stood frozen, every muscle taut. Emily's whisper still lingered in my ears, raw fear laced with resignation. Behind me, her father leaned casually against the wall as if this were all some game. His voice was silk wrapped around steel. "You're trespassing, officer. Unlocking private rooms. Interrogating my daughter in my home?" His eyes narrowed. "That badge won't protect you here." I steadied my breathing. "Your daughter called 911 for help. That makes it my business." I reached for my radio, but before I could speak into it, Mr. Carter's voice dropped, venom dripping from each word. "Do you have any idea who I am? How many judges owe me favors? How many officers in your precinct answer to me with a single call?" His arrogance was a weapon, and he wielded it with practiced ease. But I'd stared down mob bosses, traffickers, murderers. Power didn't impress me. Truth did, and the truth was crying behind that locked door. "Emily," I said louder, ignoring him. "Stay calm. I'll get you out." The moment the words left my mouth, Mr. Carter's mask slipped. His face hardened, eyes blazing with a fury barely contained. And then I heard it. Boots on the stairs, heavy, more than one pair. I shifted my stance, hand brushing my holster. Seconds later, two men appeared at the top of the staircase, built like linebackers, wearing tailored suits that didn't hide the bulge of weapons under their jackets. Private security, not cops, hired muscle. Mr. Carter didn't even glance their way. He just nodded. One of them stepped forward. "Problem, sir?" "Escort the officer out," Carter said flatly. The man reached for my arm. "Big mistake." I twisted, grabbing his wrist and slamming it into the wall. The thud echoed down the hall. His partner lunged, but I drew my weapon in one smooth motion, the barrel flashing under the chandelier light. "Back up," I growled. My voice was steady, though my heart thundered. For a moment, everyone froze. The rain battered against the windows like a war drum. Emily's muffled sobs seeped through the locked door. Then Mrs. Carter's voice floated from below again, calm and mocking. "Stephen, do you really think you can save her? You're one man. We control everything. Even if you take her tonight, we'll find her. We'll finish it." I clenched my jaw finger tight on the trigger. They weren't bluffing. I could feel it. I turned the barrel slightly toward the lock. "Emily, step back from the door," I shouted. Mr. Carter's eyes widened. "Don't you dare." I pulled the trigger. The crack of gunfire roared through the mansion, splintering the lock. The door swung open. Emily stumbled out, her face pale, eyes wide with terror. She gasped my name like a lifeline. "Officer Stephen, please." I grabbed her arm gently, pulling her behind me. "Stay close." The guards tensed, ready to strike. Mr. Carter's voice turned cold as ice. "You just made the biggest mistake of your career." I met his gaze, steady. "Maybe, but at least she'll still be alive to see tomorrow." The storm outside raged louder, thunder rattling the house. And as Emily clutched my arm, trembling, I knew this wasn't over. Because the Carters wouldn't let us just walk away. Stephen has broken Emily out. But now he's surrounded, 2 armed guards. The Carters' power looming, and a storm outside cutting off escape. The real battle is only beginning. The door frame still smoked from my shot, the echo of the gunfire fading into the storm. Emily clung to my arm, her whole body trembling, her eyes darting to the guards who blocked the hall like twin walls of muscle. "Stay behind me," I whispered. The guards inched closer, hands twitching toward their concealed weapons. One of them sneered, his voice low and gravelly. Put the gun down, cop. Walk away, and maybe we'll let you keep your badge. I raised my Glock, steady as steel. That's not happening. Emily's breath hitched. They'll kill us if we stay. She was right. Every second we lingered in that gilded cage tilted the scales against us. I needed to move fast. I pressed forward, keeping the Glock trained on the guards. My voice was sharp. Down the stairs now, move. To my surprise, they hesitated. Not because of me, but because of the storm. Of fury in their employers' eyes. Mr. Carter's jaw was tight. His hands balled into fists. For a man who was used to control, this loss of power was unbearable. You're digging your own grave, officer, he spat. You think you can save her? Walk out of here like some hero? By sunrise, she'll be gone, and so will you. I ignored him, ushering Emily toward the staircase. Her grip on my sleeve was desperate, her knuckles white. We descended fast. The foyer stretched wide and open, every chandelier blazing with light. Mrs. Carter stood at the base of the stairs, calm as a queen surveying her court. She held a crystal glass of wine in her hand, swirling it lazily, as though none of this chaos disturbed her. Emily, she said, her voice honeyed but sharp. Come to me, darling. Let's not make a scene. You don't belong with him. Her eyes flicked to me, brimming with disdain. Or with this policeman. Emily's voice cracked, but her words cut like steel. I'm not your prisoner anymore. Mrs. Carter's smile froze. Her glass tilted, red wine spilling across the marble like blood. The guards lunged. Go! I barked, shoving Emily toward the front door as I pivoted, aiming high. My first shot shattered the chandelier above, raining shards of crystal across the guards. They ducked instinctively, and that split second was all we needed. I kicked the front door open, the storm slamming into us with a wall of wind and rain. Emily gasped, clutching her arms against the cold, but I didn't slow down. We sprinted into the night, gravel crunching beneath our feet. Behind us, shouting erupted. The guards recovered fast. Heavy footsteps pounded across the marble floor. The chase had begun. The cruiser was still at the end of the drive, its red and blue lights cutting faint streaks through the rain. Hope surged in my chest until a sharp crack split the air. A gunshot. The bullet struck the stone pillar inches from Emily's head. Shards sprang into the night. She screamed, ducking low. They're shooting at us! Keep moving! I roared, pulling her behind me. We ran hard, every second stretching like an eternity. Rain blinded me, my boots slipping on the slick gravel. But adrenaline kept me upright. Another shot rang out, whizzing past my ear. The cruiser was just yards away when headlights blazed from the opposite end of the driveway. Another vehicle, a black SUV, barreled toward us, tires kicking up water and mud. Emily froze in terror. They're blocking us in! The SUV screeched to a stop, doors flying open. More men in suits spilled out, their expressions hard, their intent unmistakable. The Carters had called in reinforcements. I skidded to a halt, pushing Emily behind the cruiser for cover. My gun was raised, my chest heaving. My mind racing, outnumbered, outgunned, trapped on the Carters, property in the middle of a storm. And then, over the rain and gunfire, I heard it, a faint wail, growing louder. Sirens. Backup was coming. But would they arrive in time? Stephen and Emily are trapped between armed guards and Carter reinforcements. Gunfire tearing through the storm. Backup is close, but not close enough. If Stephen falters, Emily will never make it out alive. The rain came down harder, sheets of water hammering the Carter estate, as if the heavens themselves wanted to drown this place in judgment. Lightning clawed across the black sky, illuminating the mansion's towering facade, its perfect symmetry now looking like the face of a monster. Emily was shaking so hard her teeth chattered, crouched low behind my cruiser. Her damp hair clung to her cheeks, her dress soaked through, her eyes wide with terror. I could see her ribs heaving with every breath. She was running on fear alone. "Stephen." Her voice broke, barely audible over the storm. "They'll kill me." "My parents, they won't stop." I crouched down beside her, pressing a hand on her trembling shoulder. "Not tonight. Not while I'm here." But even as I said it, my eyes swept the driveway, counting shadows. At least a dozen men, moving in formation, rifles slung, moving like they'd done this before. This wasn't chaos, it was a hunt, and I was the prey. Suddenly a spotlight from one of the SUVs flicked on, blinding, sweeping across the driveway until it locked directly on us. "There!" a voice barked. Bullets ripped through the rain. Glass exploded, metal shrieked as the cruiser absorbed the first volley. Emily screamed and covered her ears. I shoved her flat to the mud, firing back with controlled bursts. Sparks erupted as rounds met steel. I could feel the odds crushing down on me. One cop, one terrified girl, against a private army fueled by money and corruption. But desperation makes you inventive. I yanked a road flare from my belt, snapped it alive with a violent crack. Red fire hissed, casting demonic shadows across the rain. I hurled it toward the nearest SUV. It skittered under the leaking undercarriage. Then the world detonated. The explosion was deafening. Fire tore through the night, heat blasting against my face as the SUV flipped onto its side. Men screamed, bodies flung like rag dolls. For a brief second, the storm paused beneath the roar of fire. "Emily, run!" She bolted, her bare feet slapping against the mud, sprinting toward the tree line like her life depended on it. Because it did. I rose, teeth clenched, squeezing off round after round, forcing the surviving guards to dive for cover. My shoulder burned from a grazing hit. Blood hot against the rain, but I couldn't stop. Not now. "Don't let her escape!" Mr. Carter's voice bellowed from the mansion steps. His silhouette stood proud against the flames, as if none of this chaos touched him. Beside him, Mrs. Carter clutched her shawl, her face a mask of contempt, cold as stone. Their daughter was running for her life, and they looked at her like she was nothing, like prey they'd lost control of. Another wave of guards surged forward. I ducked, rolled, fired low. One man dropped with a scream, clutching his leg. Another staggered, his weapon clattering into the mud. But they kept coming. My radio hissed. "Unit 17, report." "What's your status?" "This is 17, I growled between bursts of fire. "Multiple hostiles, requesting immediate backup, priority 1. Carter Estate." I repeat, priority 1. Static, then a response. "Copy 17, hold your position. We're moving." "Hold your position." Easy words when you're not the one standing in hell. Emily reached the tree line, turned back once. I saw the horror in her eyes as one of the guards broke formation, chasing after her. "Not a chance," I muttered, snapping my last round into the chamber. One shot, one breath. The guard dropped mid-sprint, face first into the mud. Emily disappeared into the trees, swallowed by darkness. Relief surged through me, but only for a moment, because headlights were cutting through the rain again. More SUVs barreling up the drive, reinforcements. I was running out of ammo, out of strength, out of time. The Carter's voice thundered above it all. "End this! Kill the cop! Kill the girl!" Their words echoed like a death sentence. Then, sirens. Red and blue lights split the storm, growing louder, closer. 3 cruisers skidded into the drive. Tactical van doors sliding open. Officers flooding out in formation. "Police, drop your weapons!" Floodlights lit the scene. The guards hesitated, caught between loyalty and survival. Then the officers charged, rifles trained, shouting commands. Men were slammed to the ground, rifles kicked away, wrists zip-tied in the mud. For the first time, the Carter's control cracked. Mr. Carter's face twisted into a snarl. "Do you know who I am?" An officer shoved him back toward the steps. "Yeah, you're under arrest." Mrs. Carter hissed, venom dripping from her lips. "This is our estate." "You have no right." Another officer cut her off. "We've got every right. Evidence, recordings, witness statements. It's over." Because while I was bleeding and fighting in the mud, Internal Affairs had been listening to every word of my radio call. Every threat, every order. The Carter's empire collapsed in real time, their secrets dragged into the light. Emily reappeared, clutching her torn dress, stumbling out of the woods. Her eyes searched, desperate, until they found me. She flew into my arms, sobbing into my chest. "You saved me," she whispered, voice shaking. "You didn't have to, but you did." I held her tighter, ignoring the pain ripping through my shoulder. Some lives are worth everything. Behind us, the Carters were shoved into separate cruisers, their empire burning in the flames of their own making. Mrs. Carter's voice sliced through the night one last time. A curse spit at her daughter. "You'll regret this. You're nothing without us." Emily pulled back from me, her tears cutting paths through the dirt on her cheeks. Her voice was quiet but strong. "No, I'm free without you." Lightning cracked one final time, illuminating the wreckage, fire-consuming steel, mud-swallowing blood, sirens wailing against the storm. The dawn began to break. Pale light spilled over the estate, washing everything in gray. And for the first time in her life, Emily Carter was not her parents' possession. She was her own. I tightened my grip on her shoulder, guiding her toward the waiting patrol car. My legs trembled, my shoulders screamed, but inside, a fire burned steady. Because justice wasn't always clean. It wasn't always safe. But tonight it was real. And as long as I was breathing, no one would ever hurt her again. The Carters lost their empire in a single storm. Emily gained her freedom. And Stephen proved that sometimes the line between protector and warrior is just one heartbeat.